How did you like the last video? It's funny because when I will publish this video, the video for the students is gonna be already online. But at this moment, it's not done at all. We had to stop the recording of that video because I ran out of white color. Fat cap problems, you know. So today I need to finish that student math video, but first of all I want to show you something. Look, I made a stand for my penny board, and it's perfect. Just take it right now. It's back. And don't worry, I'm definitely gonna make a custom penny board. Later in this episode of Life of a Street Artist, I would like to talk about the gear. You know, sometimes I get questions about the cameras, about all the stuff that I use for creating these YouTube videos. So today, I'm gonna show it to you. And if you're gonna like it, I'm gonna do the same thing with the cans, the artistic stuff. But right now I need to go and paint. This area where I was painting, let's say that there is a huge concentration of toys and young graffiti writers who don't follow rules at all. So I'm a little bit afraid that my piece is gonna be destroyed. Well... Alright, it looks fine. So this is how the math piece looks right now, and I have a big announcement for you. We made this area legal a few months ago, but there are big problems with these kids who don't follow rules. And the biggest problem is the ground. Just look at this mess. I really don't understand. Because of these things on the ground, this area is not gonna be legal anymore. We're gonna get a new legal place, and don't worry, I'm gonna let you know. But for all the people around here, hlavne decka, už to nemalujte. Už to nebude legálne. A keď dojdú policajti, when I was 10 or 11 years old, I used to drive or ride things like this over here because this is my old hood. I used to live over here. Right now it's time for a tech talk. After 3 amazing study days, it's finally time to show you my YouTube setup. First of all, I'm gonna show you all the gear that I use, and then I'm gonna use the whiteboard when I'm gonna write the type of a camera, price of the camera, and quality of the camera, or a computer or whatever. So basically I'm gonna tell you how much money do you need to buy my YouTube setup. It all started 3 years ago with this guy. This is a traditional Sony family camera. Pros of this camera are that it's pretty easy to use, there is a pretty good autofocus, but probably that's it. The image of this camera is not so good, just look at some examples. I got a strong relationship with this camera because it all started with her, but I really do not recommend to buy something like this for YouTube videos. Let me introduce my second camera. This is a Sony point shoot DSC-HX50. So right now I'm recording with the Sony camera. As you can see, it's not that bad, at least I think so. And also the stabilization of this camera is pretty good. But I can't see myself right now, and another disadvantage of this camera is the audio, the sound. As you can hear, it's not so good, and there is no possibility to add some additional mic. So I used to use this camera as an action camera. I had it on a tripod, and when I was painting, like, you know. The pros of this camera are pretty amazing optical zoom. If you want to have a zoom like this on a serious DSLR, you need to buy a super expensive lens. As I said before, I used to use this camera as an action camera, so let me continue with some real action cameras. Well, this is not a real action camera, it's waterproof. To be honest, I don't use this camera at all. I'm gonna continue with the first action camera that I ever bought. This is a Lamax X8 Electra. You get this thing with the waterproof case. The biggest pro of this camera is that it's pretty cheap, but that's the end of the pros. So this is the image from the Lamax camera. I would say that the image is not that bad, but I had multiple problems with this camera. Audio of this thing is awful, but at least the battery is pretty good. I lost some serious amount of footage with this camera, so it's cheap, but I do not recommend it. After multiple problems with the Lamax camera, I decided to invest some more money and I bought this guy, GoPro Hero 5 Black. So this is an image with Hero 5. As you can see, it's much better. Also, the audio is straight from the GoPro and it's pretty good. I would recommend this camera to all the people who do some action activities just like graffiti or snowboarding or whatever, because this thing's never gonna let you down. You can record a 4K video, you can record slow-mo or whatever. So I would say that the GoPro is the best. Maybe you are wondering how do I record my graffiti videos with the GoPro. I have this head strap, I put it on my head, and this is how I use it. Your hands are free, you have it on your head, the stabilization works perfectly. One super amazing feature of this camera is voice control. I thought that I'm never gonna use it, but GoPro, turn off. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, turn off. And it's off. You don't need to use your hands at all. Right now I'm gonna show you my main camera. This one. So I'm gonna record it with a GoPro. This is it. This is my main camera. Lumix G7. You can see it's pretty dirty. I got a 14 to 42 millimeter lens. The amazing thing about this camera is the flip screen. For sound I use a Rode microphone. Most of the time when I use this camera, I have it on this super AliExpress Chinese cheap tripod, or I also use not a super cheap tripod, Hama something. So right now I shoot this video with Lumix G7 in 4K resolution. Later in the computer I'm gonna downsize it to the HD, but most of the time I record HD video with 50 frames per second because I like the slow motion, and you need at least 50 frames per second to create a serious slow motion. Maybe you have heard about Lumix GH5, Casey Neistat used this camera and also other big YouTubers. This camera over here, it's something like a baby GH5 or GH4. So I just told you that this is my main camera, but the truth is that some of my bigger videos are not recorded with this one. A few months ago I found a pretty good camera guy, and right now I'm gonna show you his gear. He has a Canon 80D with multiple lenses, and if you want to see the quality of that camera, watch the previous video. I would say that the Canon 80D is a better camera than this one. The autofocus is definitely better, but one of the biggest disadvantages of 80D is that it doesn't shoot 4K. My camera guy also has some expensive tripods and boards and all this fancy stuff. Yeah, he has a better equipment than I do. So that's what I use for recording of the videos, but that's just the half of the process. I also need to edit them. This is Asus G751 JT. This is a gaming laptop with 16 GB of RAM. It's already almost 3 years old, but works perfectly. The editing process of HD videos with this machine is smooth as butter, but the 4K, it's not that smooth. It's also important to say what software do I use to edit my videos. I use Adobe Premiere Pro CC. So this is the conclusion. Traditional family Sony camera. You can get it from 200 euros to 400 euros. The quality of the image is gonna be medium, and the cons of these things are that it's limited. You have limited possibilities with something like this. Possibility number 2 is Sony point shoot. You can buy it from 230 euros to 300 euros. You're gonna get a medium, maybe high quality, but the cons, the audio is pretty bad and there is no flip screen. Actually, some of these point shoot cameras, and especially the new point shoot cameras from Sony and also Canon, are pretty good, so maybe I recommend to start with something like this. The action camera number 1 is Lamax, with a price from 90 to 110 euros, with medium low quality, and the biggest cons, the audio is awful and the functionality of this thing is awful too. The second action camera, GoPro Hero 5, with a price from 390 to 400 euros, with high quality. And cons of this camera, well, the first main camera, Lumix G7, it's this camera over here with a price from 590 to 650 euros. You get high quality. And the cons of this camera, the stabilization is not so good, and also the autofocus, especially in 4K, it could be much better. Big camera number 2 is Canon 80D with a price from 1000 to 1300 euros. You get high quality, but the cons of this camera, 4K, and it's pretty big when you want to compare it with this Lumix, for example. The last one, the computer, the price from 140 euros to 170 euros. I don't even know how, but I got this computer for 1050 euros. I think that it was the last computer in the shop, so they gave me a discount. Gaming computers like this one are pretty expensive, and I would say that you don't need that much. So you can buy something for 800 euros or something like that. You get high quality computer, but the main con of that thing is that it's super heavy and super big. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, I would recommend to buy a GoPro, Lumix G7 or something similar. So if you want to have a setup like this, you need to spend something about 250 euros, but let's say that you're gonna buy a cheaper laptop, so you need at least 2000 euros. But you're also gonna need some extra things like a good internet connection, or for example SD cards. I use this kind of cards, and in this camera I got 64 gigabytes card just like this one. I know what you think, that it's so expensive and especially young people can't afford it. But look, I started this channel with an old Sony camera from my dad, an old HP laptop. And also my internet connection was pretty bad. I used to upload videos for about 5 hours. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, you really don't need to have that super expensive gear. It's not necessary. For example, today's smartphones, they got amazing cameras, and you can start a YouTube channel just with your phone. You can have the most expensive gear in the world, but without the good content, you're never gonna be successful. And right now, little invitation for the next videos. You asked me to do this at least 100 times. I didn't even know what the hell is it. But you are my audience and I love your ideas, so I bought it. And I'm gonna customize it. Yes, you're right. It's a fidget spinner. And I got 2 of them. Let me know in the comments below what you think about my YouTube setup. Thanks for watching and see you in the next episode of Life of a Street Artist.